Shake the club all night long. Machine dance. Shake the club.
Tyler
Machine
Young,
dance.
welcome to the RMN Podcast. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Feeling good on this beautiful day.
Loving the hair, man. Digging the hair.
Yeah,
It's-
man, I
it's-
appreciate you.
that is. I've not even seen anybody with that hairstyle over here. That's
One of a kind. Yeah.
one of a kind, mate. One of a kind. That's cool as. So let's get right back into the beginning, Tyler. I mean, you're obviously a EDM DJ. I want to know, how did you get into EDM? What made you drive into that genre of music?
It's actually really funny. Most of my life, I was very much so into hip hop and like other genres. And then in my like late kind of teenage years, someone kind of showed me Daft and some other records. And I pretty much just got hooked after that, ultimately. Started going to shows, started going to like, small raves in Los Angeles, and, just really fell in love with the genre pretty quickly.
What kind of particular? I mean, when you were at these raves and things, I mean, what was there any kind of particular song that just jumped out and grabbed you, or was it like, or was it, just the whole scene of, the collective of lots of people just losing their mind and dancing and having a bit of fun, or?
I think it was probably Daft's Around the World, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, like record, where they were kind of like splicing their previous records, I mean?
Yeah,
And I kind of heard that record all the way through, and just like, that genre and artists within that realm, I always kind of connected with for some reason. I think that club kind of just like groovy kind of sound, like heavy kind of bass vibes.
that's your
Always
kind of.
rode for me, yeah.
Right. So tell me about the. I mean, the records that you've had, sort of in your sort of head, because you've been sending over a lot of records. We're working together on a lot of different tunes. What kind of vibe did you want to kind of create for the public then? Was it a tech house vibe that you wanted to kind of release as well, or was that just more for your live sets?
I think that like would be like, kind of a combination of both. I definitely wanted to, reach the mainstream with my productions and the stuff I was working on, but I also wanted to have tracks that, really connected in the club and definitely like, fit that vibe of like, being just like, some solid tech. So definitely kind of sifting in the realm of both.
What's amazing though, LA is a really different scene from, because LA is quite eclectic. So you've got, I did a interview recently with Kid Frost, and he was telling me all about the different, you can go around this corner and this party's going on, you go down another corner and a different party's going on, and it's all different and eclectic. So I mean, how does the sort of tech house go down in LA?
I think that, that there's definitely some clubs that definitely tailor to that primarily on a weekly basis. You know what I mean? So there's definitely a few spots where you can definitely, get that if that's what you're into. But I think the warehouse scene also kind of tailors that as well. Like the late night stuff is always pretty techy.
Yeah. And so is there a big disparity then? I mean, I've DJed a lot over in New York in the past, and kind of Vegas and around, and some of the bigger clubs, Ryan Vegas and Twilo in New York and stuff. I mean, is it, is that kind of Chicago tip, that New York tip coming into LA as well a little bit, where you've got a little bit of those kind of vibes going on as well?
Yeah, I think, yeah, of course. There's definitely a good balance of it all around here. I think the genre is like very strong. in these
Yeah.
parts. But it's something you have to kind of go out and like, look for. You have to be into it because there's such a vast, option of music, especially like for nightlife in LA for sure. So,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah, I
it's a,
mean, what DJs then? I mean, from the live perspective, are there any DJs that you've kind of watched a lot of and looked up to, or America's got some of the pioneers of dance music, house music, tech house, whatever, Todd Terry and Danny Tenaglia and all these kind of guys are the big cats from the past. I mean, is there anybody you've kind of watched and kind of followed the kind of patterns of, or are you just completely going out here? I am an original guy.
no, I mean, I think like Green Velvet has been someone I've been watching for a while, actually. You know what I mean? It's surprising. There's a lot of like UK artists that I've kind of been following for a while as well. That's definitely like kept me in the genre and just kind of, been very like, basically a big part of like my inspiration essentially when it comes to like, stuff that I work on and stuff that I've like liked in the past, So, I know obviously house music has like come out of, America, but it's just been pioneered in so many places. So I find myself kind of sifting between the planet for, stuff that I'm really into.
I mean, what's your sort of view then on? I mean, because obviously you're coming over to Europe at some point in the future, and you're going to start doing the Ibiza, London, and UK circuit, and all that. I mean, is that daunting for you, or are you just like can't wait, looking forward to showing them how it's done, basically?
Oh, I'm psyched. I'm psyched. I mean, to travel and like, play your music to people is like, a dream. So to go
Yeah.
anywhere, I'm excited to just connect.
I mean, I'm in the fortunate position that I've heard some of the music that's coming, and I think you're going to do really, really well in Europe. And and I think the whole contrast of what's happened in America before this is completely different. I mean, you're coming with quite an original vibe, and it's something completely different. So I think there's a lot for people to take in, and but I'm excited as well to see how how the European audience, a Tyler Young gig are going to start. How you're going to work it and how they're going to respond to it. Because I know that you're going to come and flip it a little bit, so it's going to be different.
No, for sure. I think there's going to be, a little something for everyone. Definitely. Like I said before, I'm into, that clean, like, tech house stuff, but I also want to, attack the mainstream and like, attack like, the radios and stuff that can really like transfer and, have some like long lasting appeal. So I'm really excited to push the new stuff for sure.
Well, I mean, we're also fixing up. There's a particular vocalist that's done a lot of famous stuff, and we'll not give too much away. But there's a famous vocalist that I sang with a couple of the major EDM stars that's going to be dropping on one of your tracks as well pretty soon. And I think that's going to go down a bomb. But I mean, we've got lots of good tracks. So I mean, what's your favorite track at the moment out of the ones that we're working on? What's the one that's grabbing you the most?
I mean, we're working on a lot of cool stuff. It's probably a toss up, and it would be this just because it's like it's both sides of what I'm into right now. But we have that craft mix is pretty insane. We have a little 303 flip of a track that's like extremely epic. Definitely kind of transports you very quickly to a place that's pretty epic.
The rolling TB303, let's rock it.
Undeniable, that's for sure. And then we have this Give Me Ecstasy song that definitely hits like the mainstream realm like pretty tough, and I feel like it could definitely connect with a lot of people and expand farther than just being a song for the club or something that can just like bump in the car, but something that can like be played for just people in a room hanging out. So it's very exciting. We got some good stuff coming.
You know what's cool, man, is you're really laid back kind of guy in nature and everything, and that's really cool. But in general, what a lot of the tech heads over here want to know, and you're going to get asked this a lot when you come over to Europe, probably much more than you would do anywhere in the States, is that, the big synthesizer culture over in Europe, right? So Germany's massive, Sweden's massive. So, the average guy in Sweden has 10 synthesizers in his house. And I'm talking about guys that work in garages, or guys that, and it's the same in Germany. And it's like this kind of mad synthesized culture. And, they're always amazed by what tech you're using to make your records.
Sure.
I'm going to get inundated with people saying, so what does he use? Does he use Ableton? Does he use Cubase? Does he use this? What does he use? So come on, Tyler, spill the beans. What do you use?
So, I started in Logic.
Amazing.
This is years ago, but I started in Logic, was practicing in that, kind of teaching myself production in Logic. And then I slowly switched over to Ableton and was just able to develop a way faster workflow in Ableton, basically. And it just stuck with Ableton since then, so,
Ableton's amazing. And you've got, what about for the live setup? Well, what are you using? Are you using the Pioneers? Are you using Tractor? Are you using Serato? What are you using?
Yeah, so currently I'm on Pioneers, I have Nexus 2s, just rocking, you know what I mean? But, in the heyday, it was Tractor on the laptop, on the trackpad, so it's always humble beginnings, always humble beginnings.
Listen, tracks, see, I love using Pioneers, but see, Tractor for me, and I know Pioneers got better effects and this, that, next, but sometimes, I love jumping onto a Tractor thing because it's just quick and it's easy, and you're looking at it. And I know people say you don't want to be looking at a laptop, you want to be working with the crowd, but sometimes it's fun, Tractor's a lot of fun, a lot of people, it really is good fun, so it's,
I definitely have a lot of good times.
The Tractor S8's a bit shit, but the S4 is pretty cool. It's like, that's a good one. So that's the gear you're using. And what about, the whole concept then when you're making a record? How do you get into the spirit of making a record? Are you looking for inspiration, going like, okay, that's a cool thing, or are you writing a record with a bit like the kind of hip hop kind of thing? A lot of the EDM. They'll start with maybe a kick drum and some bass kind of vibe, or they'll get some kind of loop going. What's the way that you like to work?
Yeah, I think it's it really depends what kind of vibe I'm going for ultimately. If I'm going for something a little more mainstream, or something with like more vocals or kind of more poppy vocals across it, I'm usually kind of creating a loop, of just like percussion. Kind of minimizing on any like bass or like kicks or like heavy low end, just kind of having like, simple percussion going where you kind of just have like a groove going, and then you start firing, creating synths or firing synths over that, and just slowly kind of creating like a melodic groove, but usually the vocals will kind of come in last. So I usually like to kind of create the groove, and then once the groove is there and, all the percussive elements there to where you actually have like a nice kind of vibe going. Like just lay out my whole song, or at least like, half the arrangement, and then kind of throw vocals in. So I kind of like to have the songs kind of like, relatively established before I put vocals on it. But yeah, and then with club tracks, it's a little bit more of that same initial process, but the bass comes on much quicker as like a focal point of the song when it comes to like, the full arrangement. So depending on what realm.
Do you use like, are you triggering with using Mother Keyboard, or are you drawing in the notes? How are you working in that respect?
So surprisingly, these days I work like heavily off my laptop. I've always been heavy off my laptop, but I have a MIDI keyboard as well. So I work off a MIDI keyboard for like, synth sounds and all that kind of stuff. But I've been able to just kind of get pretty fucking strong on, excuse my language,
No,
on the
no,
laptop.
language is good, mate. Language is good. Language is good.
Let's go. But yeah, you know, I was always heavy on the synths and the MIDI keyboards, more so, you know, using synths that from like, you know, friends and people I knew. Because I've yet to really like build out my synth collection because I've just, you know, I've gotten so comfortable on my laptop these days that, you know, you can kind of make moves pretty quickly with just that. But
I mean, it's a big point in, you know, when I speak to any artist, and I work with so many different EDM artists, and you know, I co-write a lot with so many of them. I mean, really, so many of them. It's quite. Sometimes it can be quite. You know, I can go onto Beatport or one of these charts things, and I'm going down and I'm going like, you know, I'm maybe sometimes as much as 15% of the chart, and I'm going out. It's a lot. It's a lot of records, you know. But I come from a musical background. My dad's was, or still is. I mean, my dad's 86 now, and he's still a folk singer, and still does all that Scottish folk stuff. My mother was a singer, and I think their parents did a bit of that. You've got the big pressure in your life because your dad is uber top of his game in one particular genre of music, and you know, that puts all kinds of pressure on you because, you know, I mean, unlike everybody else that's coming saying, well, you know, I mean, my dad was you know, I mean, he was good at folk music, you know, but folk music's this size, you know. It's like people in Scotland and Ireland listen to folk music, and that's about it, you know. And whereas, you know, your dad is Dr. Dre, so I mean, wow, and so that puts a lot of pressure on you. How's your, what's the relationship like? Is that good with the you know, is he proud of you moving into EDM and stuff like that?
yeah, of course. Like he's definitely supportive of me just like trying to chase like whatever I'm into, you know. And I think, you know, amidst like my life being so connected to hip hop, I've always just had like a natural passion for EDM and house music and tech house and all this stuff, you know. So me pushing into that was just kind of natural, you know, and you know,
It's
whatever
quite
I'm
funny
doing is supportive.
because I'm working right now doing EDM tracks with a lot of hip hop people, and it's quite funny because,
Sure.
you know, you've got now hip hop in the bigger kind of festivals and stuff. It's almost what I call dan hop, because it's like dance music mixed with hip hop, and
That
so it's
blend.
yeah. So we're creating a new genre. It's called dan hop, right? and
You're pointing it now.
yeah, we're claiming it right now, right? But Dan Hop is one of those things, and we did a track with Professor Griff from Public Enemy, and he did this thing on it, and you know, it did really well. Went charted over in the UK,
and the music was out there living in its own space. We were living in its own space through the pandemic. It wasn't until certain people, this guy named Rory, I don't know if you know him, came along and said, listen, man, you have something here. Let's see what we can do on this side of the pond. So here we are.
I perform exorcism on the rhythm after diving into the Volta River for baptism. My raps live inside of your body, cause they embody the kind of godly perfection you find in the mind of Swami, Safavi, the kamikaze. Flagging into the lobby of Geffen to stop them effing with culture, they made it sloppy. They say it takes militants, I say it takes millions and brilliance. You feel me, Griffin takes militants. Now spin it back, let's move it forward. Get caught out on our toes, no we can't afford. Know your past cause your present you cannot avoid. We gotta bring it back just to move it forward. Now spin it back, let's move it forward. Get caught out on our toes, no we can't afford.
It did really well, and I mean, you know, so I think the whole culture between hip hop and dance music is so similar in the respect that, you know, hip hop was started with break beats from James Brown records and old fashioned funk records and so on. And dance music was created from, you know, people messing about with early drum machines and so on and so forth. And so the whole culture is quite similar. And yet, you know, I mean, if you go back to 1990 or something like that, the Bassheads, a group from Liverpool, EDM group, came out with a record called "Is There Anybody Out There?" And they put a rap in the middle of it, and the rap was a track from Africa Mombata,
Oh, wow.
and it came out, and do you know that record blew up? That record blew up in the rave scene and the dance scene, and so there was always this MC environment within dance music, and then you had records like back once again with the Renegade Master and all these kind of little speeded up rap vocals, and those records kind of went. So I think there is a massive connection between hip hop and EDM. So I think with you, with the background that you've got the best combination here, man. No pressure.
That's the both worlds right here. But no, yeah, hip house, man. Hip house was, early, was the 80s, like, little side explosion of hip hop, so they've always been hand in hand for sure.
All night long. I see you dance. Shake and flow. I see you dance. Shake and flow all night long.